Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're tackling a pretty unique neurological phenomena, positioning head tilt, PHT for short.
You got it.
Now, we've all seen animals, with a head tilt, but what if that tilt only shows up when the head's actually turning and vanishes when the head's still?
Yeah, that's PHT. And it's usually associated with very specific areas in the brain.
But we wouldn't be doing a deep dive if there wasn't something unusual going on, right?
Exactly. We've recently seen PHT in cases with bilateral peripheral vestibular dysfunction, meaning the problem's actually in the inner ear's balance system, not the brain itself.
Okay, so we're talking inner ear issues, not brain lesions.
Yeah.
To make sure we're all on the same page, can we do a quick breakdown of the mechanics of PHT? How does it all connect to the vestibular system?
Absolutely. The vestibular system, it's your body's balance system, lives in the inner ear, and it works together with your neck muscles and certain brain regions, like the cerebellar nodulus and uvula, or NU for short.
The NU, what does it do?
Yeah, it's like a central processing unit. It takes signals from both the vestibular system and the neck muscle sensors, helps fine-tune head position.
So if the NU is like the control center, what happens when the signals get messed up?
Well, then you can get issues like PHT. If the vestibular system, especially on both sides, the bilateral part, it's sending the wrong signals because of damage or disease, well, the NU struggles to coordinate the right muscle responses. And that's where that head tilt during head turns comes in.
So let's talk about these 5 cases that really got you thinking.
Yeah.
What animals are we looking at and what were their symptoms?
1 dog and 4 cats. All of them had PHT along with bilateral peripheral vestibular dysfunction.
Okay.
In 4 cases, MRI showed it was bilateral otitis media interna. That's inflammation in the middle and inner ear.
Ah, interesting.
And the last cat, we suspect, had idiopathic vestibular disease, which means we don't know the exact cause.
So all these animals, they had that distinct PHT.
Yes, but here's the thing. None of them had the typical head tilt you see when the head's not moving. The usual sign of vestibular problems. The tilt only appeared when they moved their heads.
So their symptoms didn't quite fit the textbook picture? Anything else out of the ordinary?
Yeah, case number 5, the dog, on day 2, started doing something pretty dramatic. It would repeatedly roll its head and trunk really rapidly with its belly on the floor.
Wow.
Actually, we've seen similar behavior in cats after we experimentally removed both of their inner ear balance organs.
So how does this all connect back to PHT? These cases seem to go against the idea that PHT is only linked to lesions in specific brain areas.
That's the real head scratcher. The fact that we see PHT when the problem is in the peripheral vestibular system, the inner ear, really challenges the idea that it's only caused by issues in the central nervous system, specifically the NU.
So we're saying PHT could actually originate from problems outside the brain.
Yeah, that's what these cases are suggesting. Looks like PHT might be more versatile than we thought, could signal dysfunction in both the central and the peripheral vestibular systems.
So if the inner ear is damaged, how does PHT even happen? We always thought it was about problems in the brain, the NU specifically.
Right, well, here's what we're thinking now. When that peripheral vestibular system's damaged, the NU, it's not getting the usual reliable info from the inner ear, and that creates this imbalance in muscle control, which you really see during head movements, and that's when the PHT pops up.
Okay, I'm following you.
Yeah.
But if the damage is in the inner ear, shouldn't the head tilt be there all the time? Not just when the head's moving?
You're right. That's a great question. And it really comes down to how the brain can compensate when there's vestibular dysfunction. Think of it this way. The brain has backup systems.
Right.
So when the main system, the inner ear in this case, isn't working right, other systems kick in to try and keep things balanced.
Interesting. So what are these backup systems? And how does that connect to PHT going away in some cases?
Yeah.
You mentioned that dog, case 5. His PHT resolved after 4 years.
Exactly. The cerebellar vestibular system, it plays a key role in this compensation. It gets input from different places, the parts of the inner ear that are still working, vision, proprioception, which is your sense of body position. Over time, it learns to make sense of these signals and work around that bad info coming from the damaged ear.
So the brain's basically rewiring itself to regain balance, even with that damaged inner ear. Incredible. But does that mean we don't need to intervene early on if the brain figures it out eventually?
That's the burning question, isn't it? While the brain is amazing at adapting, early intervention is still really important. Those first few days, weeks after vestibular damage, they can be really rough for animals. Nausea, vomiting, trouble walking really affects their quality of life.
So early treatment's more about managing those immediate symptoms, keeping the animal comfy while the brain works on the long-term fix.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, some causes of vestibular dysfunction, like the otitis media interna we saw in 4 cases, they're treatable. So tackling the root cause can stop further damage and maybe even speed up recovery.
Makes sense. Let's go back to those head and trunk rolling movements we talked about in case 5, the dog. What's the thinking behind those?
Well, similar movements have been seen in cats after having both inner ear balance organs removed surgically. It's thought that those movements, it could be the animal trying to stimulate any vestibular receptors that are left,
Yeah.
maybe trying to kickstart that compensation process.
Like the brain saying, okay, my main balance system's down. Let's try some stuff and see if I can get those backup systems going. The nervous system is so resilient.
It really is. These cases show just how connected everything is in the nervous system. Damage in one spot can have all these ripple effects.
Makes me wonder, are there other subtle signs we might be missing in neurological cases? Signs that could point to a problem somewhere else entirely.
Now, that's a great point. It brings up a really important question. Could PHT be a more sensitive indicator of bilateral peripheral vestibular dysfunction than we realized? We usually link PHT to central lesions affecting the ANU, but these cases, they suggest it could also be a subtle clue to inner ear problems.
So PHT should be on every vet's radar, even if it seems like a classic inner ear issue at first.
Exactly. If vets catch PHT early, it could lead to, faster diagnosis and treatment, and that could really improve things for these animals. It shows just how important a thorough neurological exam is. You got to pay attention to those subtle head movements, especially during turns.
Seems like these cases are really making us rethink how we diagnose vestibular dysfunction. But beyond that, what's the bigger picture? What do these findings tell us about the brain in general?
These cases, they're a great example of neuroplasticity. The brain's amazing ability to adapt, to reorganize itself, even when there's injury or disease.
We've talked about the brain compensating for that damaged inner ear, but what's the significance of that?
Well, it's a really hopeful message. Even with neurological problems, there's a chance for improvement, for recovery. These cases, they highlight how resilient the nervous system is, and they show us the potential of rehab therapies, how they can tap into that plasticity.
So, even though these cases initially seemed to challenge what we knew about PHT, they've actually deepened our appreciation for the brain's ability to adapt and heal.
Right. They remind us to approach neurology with, an open mind, to question what we think we know, and to appreciate the brain's incredible capacity for change.
These 5 cases have been a fascinating journey. They've shown us the intricate connections in the nervous system and the remarkable plasticity of the brain.
Absolutely. It's a real testament to the ongoing research in veterinary neurology, and it shows how even a few unusual cases can really change our understanding.
Well, this has been a truly insightful deep dive into positioning head tilt. Thank you for walking us through such a complex topic.
It's my pleasure.
From Vet NeuroJar, keep those minds inspired, hearts light, and tails wagging.